backup quarterback comes in as a spark for the other team. How big was the pressure you guys were able to put on Shedeur to keep him off balance?
And I'm so glad you asked that. I should have said more about that in the team post meeting. I mean, first of all, the defense. I think they gave up 187 yards. Okay. The pressure, the pass rush was incredible, especially in the second half. How many sacks, how many quarterback hits, really did give him a chance to breathe really at all. I thought the coverage was really good. Man coverage, he completed a couple there, but how about the coverage down the stretch? How about Cheeto's play? How about Rowe's play? Just tight coverage and batting balls out and getting PBUs. Of course, the sacks. I'm just going to be more proud of those guys.
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. You know what hit me the second I heard Harbaugh say that? This wasn't supposed to be about Cleveland. That question wasn't even about the Browns. But somehow, without saying a single name, John Harbaugh managed to shine a big, bright spotlight straight on Kevin Stefanski and that front office. And that's when I knew this is bigger than just a backup quarterback coming into a football game. This is about how an entire organization handles a young quarterback's career when the lights get hot. Because listen to the way Harbaugh talked about it. Calm, measured, no drama. You practice your game plan, the system doesn't change. You take care of your own business. That's a man who's been there, done that, and has a ring to prove it. That's a coach who understands structure, preparation, and responsibility. He's not scrambling. He's not making excuses. He's telling you straight up that if you're doing your job right, your backup quarterback should be able to walk in and run your system. The Ravens don't panic. The Ravens don't say, "Oh man, our backup has never worked with the ones. I hope it goes okay." No, their entire culture is built to avoid that exact situation. Now contrast that calm with what we're watching in Cleveland right now. Tell me that doesn't feel like two completely different sports. On one side, you've got one of the most respected coaches in the league basically preaching preparation is everything. On the other side, you've got a staff that just threw Shedeur Sanders into a live NFL game in Week 11 like he was some random arm they pulled out of the stands. No timing with the receivers, no real chemistry with the line, no meaningful reps in practice. Just vibes and hope. That's not football. That's chaos in pads. And that's why this moment hit so hard for me, and for a lot of you watching. Because we felt it in our gut. It wasn't just Harbaugh answering a question. It was a quiet indictment. It was a veteran coach basically saying, look, if your backup looks that unprepared, that's on you. And he didn't have to tag the Browns to make the message land. We all knew who it was aimed at, whether he meant it that way or not. Now, think about when this is happening. This isn't preseason. This isn't a meaningless Week 18 game where everybody's resting starters. This is the stretch run. The AFC is a dogfight. Every single drive matters. Every single decision matters. You don't have room for, we'll figure it out on the fly. The Browns are trying to hang in a playoff race while playing games with a second-round quarterback's development, like it's some long-term experiment. And the first real time Shedeur gets thrown out there with the actual starters is when the season is already hanging by a thread. That's insane to me. So, when you stack Harbaugh's words next to what's going on in Cleveland, the picture becomes crystal clear. This isn't just about one bad series or one rough debut. This is about leadership. This is about accountability. This is about what happens when a franchise that's already known for chewing up quarterbacks decides to play roulette with another one. Shedeur isn't just a backup who got tossed into a game. He's the centerpiece of a much bigger story now. A story about whether the Browns are finally going to learn how to handle a young quarterback the right way, or if they're about to add another name to that long, ugly list of careers they've helped derail. And trust me, as we get deeper into this, it's going to become very obvious which direction they're heading. Let's be real for a second, because this is the part of the story nobody in Cleveland wants to talk about out loud. On paper, the Browns made it look simple. Dillon Gabriel is the veteran presence, the steady hand, the guy Stefanski trusts. And Shedeur Sanders? He was supposed to be the investment, the future, the second-round pick you groom slowly, carefully, intentionally. But somehow, some way, that investment turned into a ghost, a name on a depth chart, a practice jersey, a body in meetings, anything except an actual quarterback being developed. And that's what blows my mind. 6 months in the building, 6 months of OTAs, minicamp, training camp, joint practices, preseason. And the Browns treated him like a break glass in case of emergency fire extinguisher. You don't do that with a second-round quarterback. You don't do that with the son of one of the greatest athletes to ever breathe. You don't do that with a kid you drafted because you believed in his ceiling. But Cleveland did. They hid him, they shelved him, they acted like preparing him was optional. And trust me, the players notice that stuff. Don't let anyone lie to you. Locker rooms see who's getting reps. WR1 knows who he's timing his breaks with. WR2 knows who he's catching fades from. The offensive line hears cadences every single day. They know whose voice they're reacting to. In the NFL, reps tell the whole story. Reps tell you who the coaches believe in. Reps tell you who's in the plans and who's just filling space. And for 6 long months, Shedeur wasn't getting them. Normally, your backup rotates in. 2 reps here, 1 series there. Enough to build timing, rhythm, communication. The basics that make an offense function. That's not a luxury, that's standard across the league. But Cleveland? They acted like giving Shedeur even 2 reps with the starters was too much to ask. It's not just unusual, it's borderline unheard of. A second-round pick being completely siloed from the offense? That's not developmental strategy. That's negligence disguised as a depth chart. And here's the wild part. The national media saw it before the Browns fan base did. You could hear it in the way analysts started talking. A little hesitation, a little confusion, a little, what exactly are the Browns doing over there? When primetime analysts and Hall of Famers start raising eyebrows, something's off. Shannon Sharpe isn't ranting for views. Ryan Clark isn't questioning preparation for fun. These guys know what real development looks like. And they know when a young quarterback is getting mishandled. And that's where fans need to shift the conversation. Because it's easy to say, Shedeur wasn't ready. That's the lazy take, the safe take. The take you say when you only watch the box score. The truth, the uncomfortable truth, is that the Browns never gave him a real chance to get ready. They never set him up to succeed. They never gave him the reps, the timing, the chemistry, the foundation every young quarterback needs. This isn't about talent. This isn't about ability. This isn't about whether Shedeur is the guy today. This is about an organization deciding, intentionally or not, to treat a potential franchise quarterback like an afterthought. And that's not on Shedeur, that's on Cleveland. And as we go deeper into this story, that gap between what he could be and what they've allowed him to become is only going to get louder. Let me just say the quiet part out loud, because everyone else is tiptoeing around it. If this were any other young quarterback in the NFL, we'd call this situation exactly what it looks like: sabotage or incompetence. Take your pick. There's no middle ground here. There's no honest mistake. There's no simple oversight. You don't accidentally forget to develop your second-round quarterback for 6 months. That doesn't just slip through the cracks. Think about every layer of what Shedeur has been put through. No first-team reps. None. A handful of scout team snaps that mean nothing when you're not running your own offense. Zero chemistry with your starting receivers. The guys who actually run the timing, route precision, and spacing the offense is built around. No involvement in game planning. No real voice in Saturday installations, no rhythm with RBs, no cadence work with the line. And then suddenly, boom, hey kid, go save the season. That's not development. That's not coaching, that's a setup. And then people have the nerve, the absolute nerve to come to say, well, Shedeur didn't look ready. Ready for what? Ready for an offense he's never run with the starters? Ready for timing routes with receivers he's only thrown to in walkthroughs? Ready for pressure calls he's never practiced in full speed? Quarterbacks don't magically absorb chemistry through the walls of the facility. You can't watch another guy take reps for half a year and then suddenly step on the field and pretend everything's seamless. That's not how football works. That's not how quarterbacking works. That's not how humans work. And the timing issues, the miscommunications, the protection breakdowns, that's not on Shedeur. That's on the system around him. When your offensive line doesn't know your cadence, when your receivers don't know your ball placement tendencies, when your OC doesn't know what plays you like or hate, all of that chaos falls back onto the quarterback. It makes him look shaky. It makes him look unsure. It makes him look like he's behind. But the truth is he's not behind. He was kept behind. And here's where it gets even darker. There's been talk, real talk, about agent politics, about favoritism, about Stefanski being tied at the hip to Dylan Gabriel because that's the guy he chose. Coaches do this all the time. They pick their quarterback and they ride or die with him. Because if the guy they handpicked fails, oh, that seat gets hot real fast. If Gabriel busts, it reflects on Stefanski. But if Shedeur struggles, hey, nobody will blame the coach. They'll blame the rookie. They'll blame the project. They'll blame the kid who supposedly needs more time. It's a safety blanket disguised as a depth chart. So, yeah, when people say sabotage, I don't laugh it off. I don't dismiss it. I don't think it's some wild conspiracy theory. Because when you look at every barrier this kid has faced, every missing piece of preparation, every ignored opportunity, it's hard not to question the motives, hard not to ask the uncomfortable questions. If it's not sabotage, what is it? And if it is, who's driving it, and why? Because whatever the answer is, it's not good, and it's not going away. Here's the part Cleveland never saw coming. And honestly, this is where the whole story flips. Because for all the chaos, all the dysfunction, all the ways Shedeur was set up to fail, he still showed flashes. And I'm talking real flashes, the kind that make you sit up a little straighter on the couch, the kind that make you say, hold on, he might actually have something. You could see the arm talent, you could see the composure, you could see the way he kept his eyes downfield, even when the pocket was collapsing around him like a dying star. That's instinct, that's poise, that's not coached, that's built. And, yeah, the stat line wasn't pretty. It wasn't meant to be. But the few moments that did pop, those matter way more than numbers on a sheet. A tight window throw on third down, a quick decision avoiding a sack, a timing ball to the sideline that he threw with anticipation instead of hesitation. Those are things you can't fake. Those are things you don't just stumble into without talent. And when a quarterback shows that kind of stuff in his absolute worst circumstances, you better believe it's a glimpse of what he can become in the right circumstances. And here's where the story turns into something almost poetic. Dillon Gabriel enters concussion protocol. Suddenly, and not by choice, Kevin Stefanski finally has to give Shedeur what he's been denying him since May. A real week, a real chance, a real opportunity to actually prepare like a quarterback who matters. This is the first week Shedeur gets the ones. The first week he builds timing with his actual receivers. The first week he sits in a meeting room and says, here's what I like. And the coaches actually have to listen. The first week where the game plan includes him, not Dillon Gabriel, not the fantasy version of what Stefanski wants, but Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback who's actually playing. This is the week where chemistry starts, where timing starts, where trust starts. And that's the crazy part. Cleveland never planned for this moment. They never thought they'd need him this soon. They never thought he'd matter this much. But now, they have no choice. They have to evaluate him. They have to coach him. They have to acknowledge that he's not just a placeholder, he's a potential solution. And what I love most about this moment is how Shedeur carried himself through all of it. No blame, no panic, no finger pointing, just calm, just maturity. Just that same quiet confidence we saw at Jackson State, at Colorado, every time the spotlight got brighter. That's franchise quarterback DNA. You don't teach that. You don't coach that. You either have that steady heartbeat or you don't. And Shedeur absolutely has it. This is the kind of moment fans live for. The underdog rise. The kid who wasn't supposed to play yet, stepping into the fire. The unexpected spark that forces a franchise to look in the mirror. You can feel the shift. You can feel something building, not hype, momentum. And I'll be honest, this week feels different. And the Browns know it. Here's where I'm planting my flag. Because every once in a while, you can feel the NFL shift right under your feet. And this is one of those moments. I'm telling you right now, what happens next for Shedeur Sanders is going to define not just his season, not just his rookie year, but the entire direction of his NFL story. This isn't a footnote. This isn't some backup got his shot anecdote. This is a crossroads. And the crazy part? We all saw the signs coming before Cleveland ever admitted it. Look back at everything that led to this. John Harbaugh dropping that subtle, surgical message without raising his voice. A Hall of Fame coach basically saying, this is how a real organization prepares its quarterbacks. Coach Prime, a father, a legend, a man who's seen more pressure than most of us ever will. Holding back tears because he knows his son was sent into a fight with his hands tied. Shannon Sharpe going nuclear on national TV, calling it malpractice. And he wasn't exaggerating. And then you've got fans rallying around Shedeur, the media starting to question Cleveland's plan, and through all of it, Shedeur staying composed, staying humble, staying locked in. That matters, because the NFL is always watching, always. Front offices, scouts, owners, they see everything. They notice body language, leadership, how you respond when you're thrown into the storm. And Shedeur has responded with poise that guys twice his age struggle to find. So, here's the prediction, the one people will either praise me for or roast me for in the comments. And I don't care either way, because this is how I feel after watching this entire mess unfold. Either Shedeur breaks out and exposes the Cleveland Browns, or he plays just well enough that another team, a better team, a more stable team, steps in and saves him. Those are the only two outcomes. If he shines this week, even flashes, even moments, it's going to raise every eyebrow in the league. It's going to make people ask the question Cleveland doesn't want to answer. Why wasn't he getting developed from day one? And if that question gets loud enough, if that pressure gets real enough, you might just see the Browns forced into a real conversation they've been avoiding. Because if the kid balls with 1 week of preparation, what does that say about the 6 months he got none? And if Cleveland buries him again, if they bench him at the first sign of struggle, if they pretend this whole thing never happened, guess what? Other teams won't. This league is starving for young quarterbacks with maturity, poise, and upside. Shedeur has shown all three despite being dropped into a nightmare scenario. There will be suitors, there will be calls, there will be coaches who look at Shedeur and say, give him to us. We'll do what Cleveland refused to. This is the turning point, the moment of truth, the part of the movie where you don't blink because something big is about to happen. And whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, I truly believe Shedeur Sanders is about to rewrite his entire story. So, let me leave you with this. We're not just watching a rookie trying to survive. We're watching a young quarterback fighting for the chapter he deserves. And no matter where this road leads, one thing is crystal clear. This is only the beginning.